Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our scenario is entitled The Secret of Castronegro, and it was written by Mark Pettigrew and Sandy Peterson, and it's part of a collection entitled Ghastly Adventures in Erudite Lore. I'm your GM, and this is episode 2. We have a really cool recap by Ken Trench as his character Sam Steele. So, that being said, let's begin our journey into the darkness. Ken?
It was October the 1st, 1925, that was yesterday, when Julius Lane contacted me to look for his cousin, missing, presumed abducted, from Silver City, 300 or 400 miles away from here in Albuquerque. On the same day, 3 professors, Hisney, an archaeology prof, Haston, anthropology, and Harlow, who's researching the new science of forensic investigation, also contacted me and asked me to investigate the disappearance of another professor, Dr. William Godfrey. That's missing person number 2. I got the 3 professors together yesterday, and as well as Julius Lane, I introduced them to the idea from the newspaper that there was another missing person, a native from a small town of Castronegro, who disappeared and left his room in La Pulga Dorado Hotel, Silver City, with all of his possessions, clothes, money. He's gone missing too. That's 3 missing persons in Silver City. Something in my gut is telling me something is wrong. I convinced the obnoxious Lane, who hired me, and the bookish professors to work together with me on the case to try and solve not 1 missing persons but 2, both the professor and David Lane. They agreed, which surprised me. After some investigation at Godfrey's office at the university where we met, the team went to Professor Godfrey's modest house in Albuquerque. We met his housekeeper, Mrs. Baines, and who told us he often went back and forward to Silver City on his own personal interest in Indian culture. That may play a factor in this story. Interestingly, we found a .38 loaded in his bedroom drawer. Lane helped find that. He may come in useful yet. The professor searched at his study, finding a strange German book. I couldn't read it, obviously. Unersplackruten Kulten, or something like that, with a strange note inside the book saying La Tomba. The professors tell me that means a tomb. For $100. That's one hell of a book, and one hell of a price for a modest professor to pay. Lane and I took a short trip to the Albuquerque train station, catching the arriving train from Silver City that evening. Lane and myself spoke to Hans, a young German man, the conductor, who knew Professor Godfrey from his travels. We discovered he did get on a train to go home that night, back from Silver City. The young man remembers him looking like he had a little too much hooch and asking for a bus schedule to Castronegro. Strangely, the professor was in the company of 2 men, perhaps American Indians, the young man told us, but with green eyes. That's unusual. Hans, the young conductor, never saw the professor again, and he didn't arrive in Albuquerque. Somewhere between Silver City and Las Cruces, the professor went missing. The professors I'm working with acquisitioned a university truck to make a very long journey early the next morning, that's today, from Albuquerque to through Las Cruces to Silver City for the 300+ mile trip. It was one hell of a journey. We took tents, extra fuel and extra water for the trip and for who knows what. Silver City is more like a small town in a city. It was a long and hot trip. That Lane character threw up. He couldn't handle it. However, eventually when we got to Silver City, we took advantage of Lane's cousin's house. Turns out his housekeeper, Agapita Sanchez, who tells us the police believe that David, who has many lady friends and lots of socializing, she says the sheriff thinks it's a ransom case. I'm not so sure. And here we are, gentlemen and ladies. And so the story begins.
All right. Well, it's obvious that Ken doesn't actually smoke. So thanks, Ken. That was really good. All right. Let's begin. As I recall, you guys are in Silver City and you are in David Lane's house. So what do you want to do? You just talked to Agapita. Take it away.
Yes, well, I think when I was talking to Agapita, I wanted to start having a look about, and we'd already briefly just asked her about David Lane, and so we're looking for a bit more information if she has any. I think she didn't really tell us much.
She doesn't know too much, but the police were here, and they did gather evidence. Not much.
Did they actually remove anything from the home?
No. She says, though, that there was something about she thought that they had said something about some footprints that had been outside.
Okay, well, I'm happy to go outside with a torch, because I think this is late at night, if I remember, and have a look about.
Well, unfortunately, it's been a couple of weeks now, so.
Of course, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to look around the apartment?
Did my cousin have any possessions or anything that I would be aware of that I would want to make sure are still there? Any family heirlooms or large quantities of monies or anything like that?
No, he was trying to be kind of independent. There may have been a wall safe, maybe with cash and stuff like that in it, but it's undisturbed, and you don't know the combo.
Okay.
Well, I want to head to any kind of office type space, library, somewhere we'd maybe keep documents, diaries, and things like that.
Well, he has kind of a little reading den. Doesn't really have an office. He wasn't really an office person. It didn't work. He had money. It's unremarkable. You know, there's a little place, a comfortable chair where he could sit and read books. But it seems like he had a penchant for modern or novels of the time, fictional novels, fantasy novels. He liked cowboys and Indians and stuff like that.
I'd like to ask the housemaid if she had seen the two men with the long dark hair and the green eyes, if they happen to be associates or made their presence known around the apartment here.
She hadn't seen anybody like that, no.
Okay.
Is it too late to call a locksmith to try and get into that safe?
Well, you could try. It's a dial lock, though. It's a dial combo.
Okay.
You might be able to figure it out.
Okay. I mean, sure. I'll give it a shot and see if I'll put some family dates in, maybe you know, his birthday, my birthday combined, his first girlfriend, you know what I mean? Like that type of,
Okay.
his mother's.
Why don't you go ahead and do a luck roll?
Sure. 36, so that's under my luck.
Okay. Well, after you fiddle with it for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, you hit a combination of like his mom's birthday, something like that. And the thing opens up. There are a few stacks of cash, maybe $1,000 total. There's a few papers, a few documents, mostly just contracts and legalese stuff for purchasing furniture and things like that. Nothing really telling or significant at all. This is all still downstairs.
Okay. I go, Steele, come here.
Yes. Yes, boss.
Where does your loyalties lie exactly?
My loyalty lies to the money that you're paying me, and let's get this job done. I want to take a look upstairs, if that's okay, Julius.
That's quite all right. And I take $500 and I put it down on the table and I go, and I hold the other 500 up and I just go, don't you forget, my cousin is the priority here. Do whatever it takes. And I stuff the other 500 into my pocket and give him $500.
I hear what you're saying. What a tosser.
Yeah, give him a pat on the back. That's my boy. That's my boy. What was that, by the way?
All right. So what are the rest of you doing?
I want to get together with the other two professors and while they're up doing that and say, gentlemen, we've got two prime sources for investigation in the morning. Of course, the talking with the sheriff. See if we can get some more information from him. We also have here in town, there's the New Mexico Teachers College here, which is also combined with the local high school. And academic establishment, if want to find out any information from our missing comrade, that's the place to go. Because without a doubt, he'd at least visit there, if not, maybe even give a talk or a lecture there in the evenings. So somebody there would know what's going on. And also with the high school situation, not to be crass, but that might be for the older students there in the high school and with some of the students at the college, that might be a source for getting information on our other missing person right there as well. Considering that he had a thing for young ladies.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I think any leads at this point would help.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd also suggest our benefactor there hit the high school angle and try and keep him away from the sheriff. Because I really am concerned about him getting into a disagreement with law enforcement here.
Okay, so Sam and Julius, you were going to go upstairs, or Julius?
Yeah,
Sam, you were.
Yeah, I'll go up with Sam too. You know,
Right.
he has to go. I'll direct him around.
I assume you others are like in the living room.
Yes.
I'd like to go into the study or the den and just see if I can have another stroke of luck and perhaps move the right book again. I'll just kind of nose around.
Okay.
After professors, I'm going to go ahead and go outside and start bringing stuff in, but I'm also going to keep an eye out for anybody who might be skulking around, keeping an eye on things outside.
Okay. All right. Let's hit you one at a time. I'll do. Actually, you go outside,
Mhm.
and this is a fairly quiet neighborhood, but there are neighbors on either side of this townhouse, and you can see lights on. You know, it's just the sun has just gone down, so people are probably fixing dinner and stuff like that. You can hear noises, you know, from the houses around. But you don't see anybody skulking or anything like that.
Okay. Just as an offhand thing while I'm prepping.
Okay.
Hmm.
Let's see. Gregor, you go into the study, did you say?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to go in and just take a look around. It'd be a bit nosy. Yeah.
Okay.
Seeing as how I got lucky and found a book in the last one that we weren't really expecting.
Go ahead and do a spot hidden for me.
No.
Yeah, you don't find anything. And Sam and Julius, you've gone upstairs. There's a couple of rooms, but one is probably obviously his bedroom. Is that where you're going?
Yeah.
And the others are just going to be a bathroom and stuff like that. All right, you go into his bedroom, and everything is neatly made. The maid's obviously done her job. Why don't you go ahead and do a spot hidden for me?
I bumped my head on the wall. 99.
30. That's half of my spot hidden.
Okay, cool. So, Julius, you are looking around, and the only thing that seems a little out of place is there is a book sitting next to on the nightstand. Obviously, he was reading it, and it looks when you get closer to it, it looks like it's an Edgar Rice Burroughs story, The Bandit of Hell's Bend, and you notice that he's for a bookmark. He has shoved an old envelope into the book.
Okay. I give it to Steele, and I say, "What do you make of this, Steele?"
Obviously, this is from a father or friar. Castronegro Chapel, New Mexico. Interesting. That's where one of the missing persons in the newspaper story was from. So I open the envelope and take a look at the letter or anything that might be inside it. Is there anything inside?
There's nothing inside.
I slip it into my pocket.
Okay.
After having a look about, if there's nothing else, I'm happy to go back downstairs.
Okay. You spend probably another hour or so looking around at things, and nothing really seems out of place or unusual.
I suggest to Julius that one of the things that was mentioned about David's social life was his interest in women, but also the fact there was a lot of socializing with neighbors. So I think the next port of call, depending on the time, Tom, would be to check the neighbors either side and maybe find out a little bit about what was going on socially.
Okay.
Sure. Why don't we go do that now? It's not too late.
No, it's only about 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's a perfect time. These people might be home from their work if that's what they do in this neighborhood. So let's go check.
Sure.
I ask the maid what are the neighbors' names on either side.
On the left side is Mr. Kent Mackey, and on the right side is Mrs. Nancy Down and her husband, Peter.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's take one of them, and either or doesn't matter. We could go to the Mackeys and see what's happening.
Sure. Let's go to the Mackeys first.
Okay. It's a townhouse very similar to this one. Little different decorations on the outside and stuff like that. The lights are on.
Okay, so
We knock.
Yeah, hold on just a second. And a man comes to the door and he opens it up and he says, "Yeah, can I help you?"
Charmed to meet your acquaintance. Hi, my name is Julius. I believe you may have been acquainted with my cousin. He lived adjacent to you.
David was your cousin?
Yes, he was.
Well, what's up?
Well, he's gone missing, and I was wondering if you may know, may have any information. And mind you, anything may be informative at this point. Have the police spoken to you?
No, I wasn't aware of this at all. When did he go missing?
I believe it was at this point 2 weeks ago.
Oh, well, I wasn't here at that 2 weeks ago. I was traveling. I'm a traveling salesman, you see.
Interesting. Any of your servants or anything, were they around by any chance?
No, I do my own housework. Kind of a confirmed bachelor.
The good life. Me too. Yeah, well, if if anything's out of order, if anything comes that you might know that that may help my investigation for my poor cousin, then please come over anytime. Let the maid know, let myself know. Well, anybody in the house could help.
Did he go anywhere? I mean, I don't know the details. What did he just leave or?
Well, yeah, he's just not around, and he should be. So there hasn't been any forced entry or anything, but people reported that.
I don't really recall him disappearing for any length of time. I mean, he used to occasionally, go away for, maybe a week or two at a time if he was traveling. But, I was doing the same thing myself, traveling around. So we didn't always connect. But when he was always nice when I saw him.
Yeah. Any war stories you guys had together, or
no, not really. We weren't like friends or anything. No.
Oh well, that's unfortunate. Well, like I said, if there's any information that can lead to his finding, I'd be more than happy to give a handsome reward. And I pull the $500 out and kind of put it back in my pocket.
Well, if I can think of anything. Realize too that when you're offering them $500, you're talking about like 3 years' salary at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm super rich, so it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I'm like a Vanderbilt, you know what I mean? Like I'm like $500.
Yeah, well, people will also lie their asses off for that kind of money. So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm intentionally, I'm totally intentionally doing this. Yeah, I'm an ignorant. I'm in
anyway,
my own little bubble.
He says, I can't really think of anything. Yeah, no. I mean, I've occasionally seen him go in there with a girl, but then why not? He wasn't a married man, was he? No, I didn't think so.
I say, well, the police are really taking this seriously. They believe he may be abducted. So,
abducted.
Anything at all? Do you know if there's any regular friends he had, anyone you recognize, any names that you may know, or any locations he was visiting?
No, none that I can think of. I don't think he really had. I never saw any male friends go in there with him. I saw an occasional girl, not usually the same girl either. I think he was just bachelor like me. Yeah, no.
Did we get the sense that this?
I seem to recall one day that I came home, and as I was walking up, I looked over, and there were a couple of strangers, and he kind of points, and he says they were kind of like over there on the corner, and we don't usually get. This is a residential neighborhood. We don't usually get just random strangers.
Can you describe them at all?
Well, There were, it seems to me, there were maybe 3 of them. They were kind of tall and lanky. They wore suits, that not nice suits, just everyday suits.
Were they Caucasian?
Well, their clothing was kind of, I guess there was one of them kind of in a suit. The other ones were kind of in a baggy. They were kind of baggy clothes, like work people, or
Wouldn't happen to be natives by any chance, would they?
What do you mean? Yeah, like a Native Americans?
Yeah, Indians.
No, well, I think that
Green
they
eyes?
were their skin was kind of pale, so I would say they weren't Indians.
Okay.
They could look kind of sickly and white, like some people who don't come out of the house much. Had dark hair. And one guy had leather boots. I remember that. But I wasn't close enough to see much detail, That struck me at the time. It just kind of struck me as odd. I thought maybe they were just door-to-door salesmen or something like that, but they weren't like moving around. And I didn't really give it that much attention. I walked in my door and that was it,
And how long ago was this? You said a couple weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, a few weeks back. I'm sure David was still here then, because I'm pretty sure David was still here then, but probably around this, if the time you're talking about that he disappeared, he could have been around that time.
Say, as you're remembering back, does it seem like one of the guys, the guy in the suit, was maybe in charge, and the other guys were maybe working with him or something like that?
Well, I can't really say for sure, but yeah, I could see that. One was definitely dressed better than the others. But yeah.
Yeah, well, that's really helpful.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it. Hopefully it leads to something. I give him $10.
That's not necessary. He says,
is it not enough?
The one guy might have had a cane.
The one in a suit?
Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, maybe. The way he was standing, I think he was leaning on something. Yeah.
And was this during the evening? Was this at night?
It was probably about 4:00 in the afternoon when I would have gotten home.
Okay. Well, that's really helpful. I really appreciate that.
Well, I hope you find him. I hope he's just out carousing.
I would like nothing more than to find him at some brothel, to be completely honest.
Is there anything else I can do?
Is it a sense that he's given us everything he's got? Is that the kind of sense?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I thank him. I shake his hands and say, if you think of anything, feel free to let the housekeeper know next door, and we'll be in touch with her.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you.
All right. So you've asked him. Now what you want to do?
Other side.
Over to Nancy's and Peter's.
Other side. All right. You knock on the door. Nancy answers the door. She's elderly. She looks like she's probably in her 70s. Her husband is obviously sentient. He's in the other room sitting on something. He's like, "Who's that? Who's at the door?" And she's like, There's some people here. They're asking about David from next door." And she's like, "Well," she says, I certainly haven't seen him for a while, and the police did come and ask us. I told them, I said, the only odd people I've seen around here in the last 3 weeks there were three men standing right over there. Now they would have been standing very close to her front yard, according to the other guy. She says, I was getting ready to make dinner, and I looked out the window, and there were these three guys there, and they just looked really strange.
Can you describe them at all?
Yeah, kind of tall and hunched over. They had black hair, really dark, but their skin was really light. And I'm pretty sure they had green eyes, all three of them. Really rather striking green eyes, the way the light caught them. Two of them were dressed more like farmers than anything else. And the other one was in a kind of an old-fashioned, like 1800s, late 1800s suit with a high collar and I thought that was kind of strange, but you know, some people's taste in clothing hasn't changed much in the last 50 years. I'd say he looked like he was probably in his 50s. The other two, it was hard to tell.
Can you remember, ma'am, if he was standing with a cane?
Well, I didn't see any cane. He did have facial hair, though. Rather nice and neatly trimmed into a little pointed beard and mustache.
And were they actually on your property, or were they just outside of where you are?
Well, they were standing right over there by that tree, and I got the distinct impression that they were keeping an eye on David's property. Now, at the time, I really didn't think much about it. I thought maybe they were friends of his and they were just waiting for him to show up. But that's what I told the police.
And did your husband see them at all?
No. My husband doesn't much get out of his chair if he doesn't have to, except to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. Oh, and the footprints. I pointed out to the police the footprints.
Whereabouts were they? Would you mind showing us?
Mm-hmm.
What about the footprints?
She walks over and she says, when I heard that that David had gone missing and the police came, I told them that the day after I saw those gentlemen, which was probably about the time that he disappeared, I was going along the side of my house pulling some weeds, and I noticed some footprints in the dirt there, right underneath that window. And she sort of points out, and it would be the window going into like David's downstairs. And she says, they were kind of odd. She says, the first one looked like a man's shoes, probably like David's shoes, and they were like a regular man's shoes. The second one was barefoot, like somebody had been standing there with no shoes on at all. And the third one, it looked like a big old boot print, except there was a sort of a cross shape in the heel, in the dirt. Very distinctive, very strange looking.
As in, like, there was a cross in, like, chiseled out of the heel, so like it made an
it made a pattern in the ground, as if if you were to look at the bottom of his heel, it would have been a cross like this going across the heel. I hadn't ever seen a heel like that on a man's shoe.
That's certainly unusual. Can we actually see anything left, or is it just the ground's just?
Oh no, because it's there's been light rains in the last couple of days, and yeah, there's nothing left of that. But I did show it to the police, and they looked at it. I think they took pictures of it.
Well, the important thing, dear, is that you saw it, and you told us. Thank you so much.
Well, I do hope you find him. He was a nice boy. He was a nice boy.
I've grown quite fond of him over the years.
They had bad teeth, too.
They had bad teeth?
Yeah. There was one of them that they were obviously talking to one another, and I just noticed, my God, their teeth are yellow. Yellow and big buck teeth.
Rotted or just unkept?
I think just unkept, but kind of big. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like they were buck toothed. Big teeth.
Were they playing
I'll
banjos?
take your word for it, man. We don't need no stinking badges.
Well, thank you very much, man. We really, really appreciate this. You're being extremely helpful. Is there anything else at all unusual about that time that you feel, or has anybody been to the house since that time that you've noticed?
No. I've seen Agapita going in and out. I imagine she thinks that he's going to come back, but it's been this long now, and he didn't say anything about where he was going, or if those men abducted him, which is kind of what I was thinking, since footprints in the window and.
Well,
Yeah, strangely enough, man.
All right, thank you. She doesn't really have anything else beyond that.
I want to take a little look around where she described him standing at the tree and just have a little scout about in case there's maybe been anything left or items or objects or anything like that.
Yeah. I'll go on the inside and do the opposite. So you check the outside steel, and I'll go in and I'll check the inside. So
okay.
Sure.
Steel, do a spot hidden.
Oh my lord, no. 97.
Yeah, it's been wet. It's been damp. Anything that's left there, you think that you might see what might have been the impression of that heel, except that it's just too deteriorated by now.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. And inside the house, you don't see anything either.
Okay.
Can we check around on the outside? Can we check around that window, the windowsill? Is there any markings on the windowsill or anything like that?
Nothing.
And no damage to the window, or
it doesn't look like it. Now,
I'm
in this neighborhood, there's relatively no crime. People often just leave their front doors unlocked and their windows unlocked. They don't.
So yeah, having the window unlocked would it be anything unusual?
All right.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to go in and see what the professors are up to after all that.
All right, what are the professors up to? You said you were moving your stuff into the house?
Yeah, everybody's stuff kind of going out and securing the car and then bringing everything in.
Okay.
Do we know David's occupation?
David's independently wealthy. His occupation was no occupation. He's a dilettante. Like the other Mr. Lane in our presence.
Runs in the family.
I do mention when everybody gets back together, I mentioned, this name Joaquin is bouncing around in my mind, and something about a La Pulga Dorada Hotel here in town, and for some reason I can't connect whether or not that had to do with Mr. Lane or Dr. Godfrey. Yeah, anybody else here remember us hearing about that recently?
It's in the newspaper article.
Sure, it was in a newspaper. There's no connection that we know of. The man went missing and left all his possessions in the hotel. Was he the third party then? Yes.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I was just kind of getting it all mixed up there.
The date-wise, that is the most recent disappearance was the 28th of September. So that was like about 3 or 4 days ago. And David Lane was the 18th of September. And Professor Godfrey was the 16th of September.
Well, if we keep coming up empty-handed, maybe that's a spot for us to check out then tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so.
So what is the plan for tomorrow, gentlemen?
Well, what I suggested talk with the professors while you guys were out and back and forth. We have two major sources of investigation in town. We have the sheriff, which I've already been making plans to go talk with, since I'm connected with the Albuquerque Police Department. I figure it'd be a little bit, shall we say, easier for me to talk with them about the situation than most. We also have the local, well, it's the state teachers college here, which is connected with the Silver City High School, and that's another place to go check out. Considering that our guy, Professor Gottfried, was academic, that would be the place he would be going to here locally in town for sure. Not to mention that since it is a college, there are young ladies there looking to get a degree, and that might be a source for your cousin there to look for companionship. Well, I was not going to be that crass.
Women? Vaginas? Is this what you're talking about, man? Maybe he enjoys education, damn it. He's not an idiot.
Well, I was trying to be humble about the situation.
Why can't we go to the police now? Do they close the police in this town or something?
Well, the sheriff's probably home having dinner, and whoever's on duty there is probably can't tell us much of anything.
Did they not
it's best to hit him during. We could call him.
It's the 20th century, man.
I'm just saying, I would personally not like to inconvenience the sheriff. I mean, he's probably going to be one of our best sources for information here, and the less inconvenience we give him, the better. I mean, we're not talking about city police here who can jump at a moment. Here we're talking about local law enforcement. I mean, in the sticks. I mean, they probably don't want to be bothered if they could be
at 4:30 in the evening. How could anyone be bothered at 4:30 in the evening? It's impossible.
I think your watch stops, sir. It's already 7:30.
God damn it! I paid $20,000 for this watch. Yeah, I take it. Smash it. Well, I suppose 7:30 in this podunk town might be a little late.
Yes.
Let's call him anyways.
All right.
No. If you feel it's the best thing, then by all means, we can talk in the morning.
Probably for now, until we establish a rapport with him, and then we might be able to get away with calling him after hours. I mean, we don't have much other than we're here doing some investigating. And
you know this man personally?
No, but I've dealt with a lot of the local sheriffs in the state and stuff, back and forth working with the police department, and they like to have their time. I mean, we are in the middle of nowhere, and unless there's some reason for them to be out and about, they don't really take too kindly for their evenings to be messed up.
So you're saying these rural folk are lazy? Is that what you're saying?
No, they're more laid back, genteel. And somebody coming in and just bothering them without a good excuse,
like a loved one
or an
being
immediate
stolen
excuse.
from under their nose. I understand.
Well, they already know he's gone, and they've come up with this scenario of him being kidnapped. We'd just be trotting over ground that's already been established.
I couldn't agree with you more. I agree with you 100%, sir. Yeah. I don't really know these people. This is my first time here. Besides buying property, I don't really deal with them. usually when I do that, the people aren't happy to see me to begin with. So,
is it your guys' intention to stay here?
Yeah.
I thought that was the plan.
Okay.
Because this is a podunk town, right? Is there anything going on besides?
Well, it's not.
Maybe a few cantinas and stuff, but I don't think really much as have anything's going on unless there might be something going on at the college. But I don't know if one way or another if anything's happening there tonight.
Well, and we're still in Prohibition, so
yeah. So
you could find a speakeasy if you wanted to do that. But this is a pretty small. Most likely, there's going to be a speakeasy here somewhere.
Yeah. In my understanding, there were more speakeasies than bars. Like Manhattan or something like that had like 5,000 speakeasies, where it didn't have that many bars to begin with. So
there's in some places like Boston and New York, there were a lot of places you could hide a speakeasy. In a smaller town, it's not so easy to do.
Well, you also have to understand, sir, that while we are in the midst of Prohibition here, we're out in the middle of nowhere here, essentially, and quite frankly, people really don't care what some guys in Washington are coming up with right now and stuff. So they're
I couldn't agree more with that.
So
I crack open my flask. I go, "There's this thing. Have you ever tried it? It's called Scotch," and I give some to steal.
There's actually probably plenty of alcohol in the house.
Yes.
Oh, excellent. So yeah, get some ice. Start pouring drinks for everybody. Oh, I mean, Senorita, come here. Make us some drinks, please. And I go sit down.
What would you like, senor?
Whiskey with a touch of a water.
Okay. She gives you whatever you want. In fact, she's going to fix dinner, so she's fixing you guys dinner.
While Julius is acting like an ass, I say Harlow. Yes. It might be something of interest for the forensics. Your forensics interest. Tell him about the footprints. Right. We can always go out and have a look if it's of interest to him. But I also share the envelope that we got upstairs with the reference to. I didn't get the name, guys. I didn't take a note of the names there. So, or maybe you can help us with that. So tell them about the Castronegro envelope, the address.
Okay. This is the second time.
Yeah.
Second time Castronegro.
Yeah. Yeah. The other one was the other missing person that so far we don't know any connection. But there seems to be something going on here. You know.
I recognize that last name. That's the same. That's Joaquin's last name.
Really? By Jove, you're right.
Vilhela. I don't know how to say it.
Vilhela Pereira.
Vilhela Pereira. I wonder. Well, you're saying he was a father. Would that mean he wasn't married? So it might not be his son. It might be his brother? Father?
Well, the address is a chapel, so I think it's like the priest.
Could be. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Or he could be a visiting. He may not be the resident priest, but he could be visiting and staying at the chapel there, because more often than not, visiting priests and clergy do tend to stay at the houses of worship.
So here's a question: why would David Lane have an envelope with the name of a priest, which relates to a completely different individual who's also gone missing?
And was David religious at all?
No.
I have no idea. We hate the church.
Well, you got to understand that the church out here is still a very influential force, especially amongst the Indians and the Hispanic population. And I mean, they're considered on the level of town elders, if not more so. So it wouldn't surprise me that he's got a dialogue going with this guy.
And
The church also has its fingers in our educational institutions out here. Yeah, they've definitely contributed to building this.
How do you get into
Not as much as it used to, but they do.
And professors, both neighbours, also noticed 3 strangers around the time David went missing. One man dressed, some facial hair, like a little goatee, a suit, and 2 stranger-looking guys, a bit rougher, buck teeth, really kind of strange, green eyes, which was also something that the young conductor mentioned. He felt they may be Indian people or something like that that were with the professor on the train before he went missing. There seems to be a lot of connections here.
Dark hair, green eyes. Interesting.
I just thought something else, but I don't want to metagame. Is it safe to assume you're going to share the other footprint stuff with us?
Sure.
Yeah. You mentioned something that just caught my attention, that if she saw cross marks in his boots, maybe that's the father. Priest. But why he would be snooping around the window, that doesn't make a lot of sense either.
Does anybody have an occult? I'm counting occult as religion.
I feel like I know this story from somewhere.
Would any of you know about Catholicism?
It's like right on the tip of my brain.
It all depends if I'm Boston Irish or not Irish.
I got a basic cult.
My ideology and beliefs are based in a very superstitious Catholic background.
Okay. Well, then you would know this. You don't even have to roll for it. Roman Catholic would have an aversion to stepping on a cross. So putting a cross on your heel, that would be extremely insulting. It'd be like walking on Jesus, or
Every step is on the cross.
So for him to be a Catholic priest and be doing that would be unthinkable.
Bit of a dick move.
Could it be these boots were designed like on the heel to for traction? Because I know that some of the newer boots that have been coming out here have been working with like patterns and hatching and stuff, especially the rubber sole boots that have been coming out in the past few years, to allow better traction, especially in a work environment.
Without actually seeing it, you don't have any way of knowing.
Okay. So, gentlemen, I've got 2 suggestions here. I think Harlow's right. I think he should go and see the chief of police. I'm happy to accompany him. But I think we have a direct line of inquiry here over at the La Pulga Dorado Hotel, from which this connection name, the chap that has gone missing. I think we need to check this out.
Looks like we got 3 places to look.
Hey Tom, can I ask? I can't quite make out the postage stamp mark. It looks like August 28th. Is that important, or am I reading too much into it?
I don't remember when I made it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe August. Yeah, I think I did make that. It's not that, well, I don't know whether I'm not going to tell you whether it's important or not.
Well, in other words, did you just grab that off the internet kind of thing?
No, I think I actually put it there, but I wanted it to be a couple of months ago.
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to point that out, that it's fairly recent. It's not that long.
All right, well, before dinner comes on board here, I'm going to go outside and have a look at the windowsill.
Okay. There's nothing on the window.
Grab a flashlight and go outside.
Yeah. I think you guys already did that, but there's nothing there.
Okay. I don't find anything particular.
No.
Did she say when they saw them at the window?
Yes, she said about the time that David went missing.
I'm wondering if he went missing and then they just started looking around So they were just looking in the window to see if he was home.
Everything that they said seemed to indicate that they saw those guys and then David went missing.
Oh, okay.
I think if David's been abducted, we've found our men, 3 of them.
Seems likely they had something to do with our man on the train too. So he may have gotten into something that he shouldn't have. Now, looking through his library, is there any indication that there's, like, I'm trying to get a feel of where his head's at. Like, can I, like maybe some of the books he's reading or some of the collections he has, or?
Well, from his collection of books, mostly he liked to read fiction. In particular, he liked Westerns. And he liked things, he liked a little bit of sci-fi. He saw Jules Verne and it's a little bit of H.G. Wells in there. He also seemed to have a little bit of interest in Southwestern history, how this part of the country was developed. Once we had started taking over things, though the white man had started taking over things.
Mm-hmm.
A mild interest maybe in some Indian stuff, but then who doesn't in this part of the country? And there are a few books on occult subjects like ghosts and hauntings and things like that. But nothing really out of the ordinary for a person's library.
Okay. All right. And these books that are on the occult, they're more like pop culture. They're not books from the occult, right?
They're kind of the things that, were popular 20 years ago and things that you can find them in the public library.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
All right, so you guys have dinner. After dinner, do you want to do anything? You gonna wait until tomorrow?
Before bed, I'm gonna dig into this book again.
Okay, it's just a standard copy of what's his name, Jules Verne's.
Oh, I meant the German book.
Oh, the German book. Okay.
Yeah.
It's proving very difficult. But go ahead and do a language roll for German.
Okay. The double zeros or nines?
Double zeros or 0.
Yeah, double 0. I got a 9 then. Sweet.
You got a 9.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, awesome.
You're getting the gist of parts of it, and it's pretty dark. It's talking about various religious cults, usually religious cults that are dealing with the more dark stuff. These aren't just like Christian denominations. These are secret societies and underground cults. But you're just skimming the surface. You're not really getting names. You're not really getting information because it'll take you a while. It'll take you.
Right.
It's probably going to take you weeks to get anything out of this.
And I'm just going to keep at it. Like that's just going to be my free time when I'm not dealing with people. I'm going to have the book out, kind of read
Okay.
it.
How about the rest
What
of
was the name of the book again? I'm just having a hard time finding where the handouts are.
Unaussprechlichen Kulten.
Of course.
Write that down.
It's going. It'll be phonetically.
Nameless cults is what that would translate into.
Nameless cults. That's easier.
Over dinner, I kind of direct a bit of conversation towards the professors and say, my gut tells me I need to get along to this hotel. I think evening would be a good time because evening staff might be on. They might be able to tell us a little bit more when this guy went missing. If anyone wants to join me, I want to pop along and see who's on.
I'd definitely be up for that.
Okay.
I finish my drink and then pull out like my gun and go, sounds great. Is this appropriate? Is this a good enough gun for this?
Watch where you're pointing at.
It's 1920s. Everybody carries guns.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Guns are kind of a status symbol. It's probably got a pearl handle and.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
So maybe let one of the professors drive if they want to, seeing as it's their vehicle or the university vehicle.
And I am
head
drunk.
over. Julius, perhaps you should stay and just enjoy a few more drinks.
No, I think I'll come.
I kind of look at the professors.
I'm like filling up I'm filling up my my flask. This will be fun.
All right. So you're all going to drive over there?
Sure, I'll drive.
All right. You drive across town and you pull up into kind of a seedy little hotel. It's like 3 stories high. It's mostly white on the outside. No real decorations. Looks like a cheap hotel. Not a sleazebag hotel, but a inexpensive hotel. And there's an office. There's a manager's office down at the bottom.
Excuse me.
So over to the manager's office.
There's nobody at the desk, but there is a little bell.
Okay, ring the bell.
All right. After a couple of seconds, the door opens and a gentleman comes out. He's just dressed in a wife beater t-shirt. I mean, he's got pants on, but he comes out and he says, "Yeah," he says, "It's kind of late."
I say, well, we're investigating the disappearance of one of your customers. I'm sure the police have already spoken to you. And I give the name, which I won't bother trying to say. And we are following some leads just now, and this is a connection to perhaps more other disappearances of other people. So I ask for the name and ask if any information on the series of events or anything that the police.
So you guys are like detectives, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I told the police, I don't really know anything. You're talking about Mr. Valela Pereira.
Yeah.
He was a young kid. I'd say he was probably, no more than 20. Kind of pale, sickly looking. Dark hair, green eyes.
I said,
The owner's name, by the way, is Carl.
Carol, do you know? Was he staying with you long, or has he stayed with you before this, young man?
He'd only stayed with us for a couple of weeks, but he was renting the place indefinitely. He disappeared. He left all of his stuff. The police took it back to the station with him.
Do you ever see him have guests here?
Oh no, not that I can remember.
Has anybody occupied the room since he's gone missing?
Actually, no. We're kind of slow right now. Nobody's moved in.
Well, why don't we rent that room so we can go up and take a look at it, if you don't mind, Carl?
You want to rent the room?
Sure, we'd like to go take a look.
I say, I cannot say, whisper to Julius, say, Julius, you don't need to pay for everything. Sometimes you can just ask.
This is why I can show you the room. He said, and he gets his keys and he says, follow me. He says, but there's nothing there. And it's cleaned out.
Who cleaned it out?
I cleaned it out.
Oh. Find anything interesting while you were cleaning it out?
Nothing at all. Like I say, the police took everything. And he opens up the door and shows you, and it's just a kind of a plain, dumpy little room. Just a 1-bedroom.
What floor is this on?
It's on the 2nd floor, and he says that there's no bathroom in the room. You got to go down the hall. So it's a shared bathroom.
Okay.
Was it a long walk from the office?
Not really.
While they're doing that, I'm going to slip away and start poking around outside the hotel, looking around, see if anything's going on. I'll take a flashlight with me and.
Okay, you go outside. You look around. You're out there for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. You don't see anything. There's trash cans in the back. There's an alley. The alley's not really, a clean place, but it's not really dangerous or scary. Upstairs, there's really almost nothing at all to see in the room. The guy says, he was kind of a quiet guy. He didn't talk much. Kind of furtive, kind of secretive. But he paid his rent, so.
Do you know how he made a living?
I have no idea.
I'll take a quick stroll down the corridor towards the bathroom and just kind of nudge the door open and have a quick glance about.
Okay. It's obviously a shared restroom. It's pretty much bare, except, people bring their stuff there, they brush their teeth and stuff, and then they take their stuff back to their rooms.
While they're talking to the landlord here, I'm going to act like I know what I'm doing and start looking around the room for clues, like tapping on the wall and looking under the bed, kind of like if a mime was doing an impersonation of somebody. That's kind of what I look like doing it.
Okay. Do a spot hidden.
Three of the painted dice. Nope. Over by 3.
Okay. You don't see anything.
How is the room heated?
Luck points.
There's steam heat. There's a radiator.
Like a radiator?
Mm-hmm.
Real carefully look around the radiator and probably the windowsill, just in case anything's slipped into a crack or a crevice somewhere.
Okay. Do a spot hidden for me.
No.
Yep. You don't find anything. It's a radiator.
Okay.
It produces heat.
So,
all right.
That's it. You don't find anything.
Did you say the police took everything?
Yes.
What did they take?
They took the kid's clothes and anything else he had in here in the drawers. I don't know everything that was in there. They took the stuff.
Okay. And
Was
Tom,
everything?
Sorry, one more question. I'm just wondering if my character remembers. Did William have green eyes?
Who's William?
The guy we're looking for?
Oh, your professor? No.
Yeah. Okay. Did he have a cane?
No, I don't think so. No, your professor. He was a little pudgy, balding, kind of short, but kind of energetic, full of energy. Constantly was, getting into stuff. Rather likable.
I asked the owner, was there anyone else that checked in around the same time as this young man, or shortly after?
Well, I got the books downstairs. I don't think so, though. Like I said, it's been kind of slow this last 6 months or so.
Okay.
I was lucky to get him as a tenant, so I'm kind of sad that he disappeared.
And you haven't had any significant conversations with this poor boy?
Other than, when he paid his rent, said, "Here's the rent." He wasn't the kind of person who even said hello when he walked in the door. So he kind of kept to himself.
I'm sorry,
And
Professor.
did he own a vehicle?
I don't think so. No. Jeff, what was your question?
I apologize, Professor Gregor. I think I interrupted you before. Did I cut you off? Question.
Well, I am curious. Did he have to provide any sort of references or last known address kind of thing when sign up here?
Not in this kind of hotel. I take what I can get.
Okay, that's understandable.
I've occasionally rented by the hour.
Interesting. And would any of those women that rent by the hour be available by any chance?
No, you didn't hear it from me.
And I pull out a $5. I'm like, but I did hear it from you.
No, I don't have any information for you. But I'll take your $5 anyway.
I'm like, I fight him for it. Like, no. I want the hookers, or you don't get the money.
What do you call the book? The registration book, is it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Would he allow us to look at the book?
Sure. He turns it around, lets you look at it.
Any other names?
Over the past 6 months, maybe 2 or 3 names. One of them being Joaquin Villela Pereira.
Professor Godfrey's name doesn't show up.
It does not.
And
nor does David Lane. No, there's no Alonzo Villela Pereira.
I think we're probably done here, gentlemen.
Okay.
Shall we head back and make a start in the morning?
Yeah, it sounds like we really need to hit the sheriff's office.
Agreed.
All right, so then we're going to assume that you're going to hit the sheriff's office tomorrow, and you're going to go back to the house and relax this evening. Is there anything that you want to do this evening before you go to bed?
Is there an attic in the house? In a basement? Because
there is a basement. It's just got boxes of storage and stuff like that. Things that are dusty. Nothing really of any importance. There is no attic that you know of. It's like a townhouse. There might be a little crawl space, but nothing more. Looks like nothing's been up there. If you peek, nobody's been up there for years and years and years. There's cobwebs. I would like all of you to do 2 spot hidden rolls.
Made both general successes.
A general success and a hard success. Or an extreme, sorry.
Yeah, I missed one and got a hard success. Hard's half, right?
Yes.
Okay, so hard.
I think I'm really sleepy. I failed one, and then my second roll was an I.
Oh.
You already went to bed.
So yeah, if you so Sam, you're the one who got an extreme and a regular. Did anybody beat that? No. All right. You guys are all kind of fiddling around. Some of you are getting sleepy, obviously. You're thinking about going up to bed and all that. And Sam, you wander in to the place where David would sit and read. And there's nothing out of the ordinary, but you're sitting there and you kind of sit down in the chair, and for some reason your hand just sort of goes over to the side, and there's a newspaper. When you pull it out, it's not from 2 weeks ago. It's actually fairly recent. It's September 28th, I believe. And you find this article. It's not circled or anything. You do get the impression that maybe Agapita changes the newspaper and throws out the old ones, but she hasn't done that in a while. But this article pops out in your head. Do you want to read that? Can you see it okay?
Cattle mutilations continue to puzzle. The most recent chapter in the continuing mystery of the New Mexico cattle killings concerns rancher Carlos Montoya, who lost 92 heads of cattle between the 8th and the 19th of September here on his ranch by the isolated town of Saltamontes. This has been the largest single loss ever attributed to the unseen cattle butchers. The cattle were found scattered across Mr. Montoya's ranch with all of their tongues and genitalia physically torn from their bodies, along with other signs of trauma. This is some backwater. Montoya has been so affected by this grim occurrence that he sold his ranch at a price considerably lower than one would expect. During a short interview, he said, "I have pretty strong notion who's been slaughtering my herd, but I have no desire to stir up a hornet's nest. It ain't worth it. People might think me a coward, but I have my family to consider. I'm getting the hell out of this place and ain't looking back." Montoya went on to say that he'd been planning for some months to move to Portugal, but the recent catastrophe spurred him to sell low and move immediately. For the last 2 years, occasional mysterious cattle mutilations have been occurring on the local ranches, but generally no more than 1 or 2 cows have been killed in a month. The newest occurrence may signal a possible upsurge in this strange chapter in the American Southwest. That is some story.
That is interesting.
The 8th and the 19th. Between the 8th and the 19th of September.
That wasn't too long ago.
That's yeah,
wow.
That's a lot of cattle. 92 cattle.
That is quite a bit. But what has me interested, mutilations, specifically the tongues and genitalia. There's been a lot of rustling stuff, and I've heard stories that cows be killed for some kind of retribution amongst ranchers and stuff, or rustling and that sort of thing. But this is not common. This is not what they'd usually do. They'd usually just kill a cow or rebrand it or something like that. This is very odd. Seems like the more we look into what's going on here locally, we get more and more odd stuff happening. I mean, disappearing people, mutilated cattle in ways that you'd not expect. Hornet's nest indeed. I'm wondering if we're not stepping into something here.
Well, I'm glad I brought my rifle, my shotgun.
But I'm kind of curious to see I'm kind of curious to see what's going on with these cows. I just, this is kind of along my expertise here. And
are you a natural historian?
I am to a degree, yes. And this does not sound like any kind of rustlers or deaf cows in trouble. This is very odd. I mean, especially cows. Cows are a commodity. I mean, they, you're unless they really somebody was trying to make a point in a specific way. This is something that no one would do to cows. I mean, it sounds like somebody's trying to make a point here for something. Really kind of, I dare say, terroristic action on this part.
Well, if they just wanted to put him out of business and kill his cattle, that's one thing. You're right, though. To take that extreme and to go for these particulars with the tongue and the genitalia, that's a whole other level there. That's you're right. I mean, there's something very odd about that. That's not just wiping out a man's livelihood.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard stories of cows being mutilated, but it'd be like one cow, like you'd find a cow all chopped up or something like that at the most extreme. But like this, and the fact that a rustler or a rancher and stuff who wants to would usually steal the cows as opposed to doing something specific like this, and all these cows had the same mutilation according to this article here. This is this is strange. I mean, like I said, missing people, strange mutilations in cows. Something's going on here, guys.
Does anybody know where this city is that they mentioned in the article?
Saltamontes.
It's a backwater town, as far as I know.
Did we pass it on our way here? Could it perhaps be on the way to, if we decide to go to Castronegro?
It's probably, within a 40 or 50 miles of here, but not necessarily in the same direction as Castronegro. Actually, let me see if it was on the map.
Well, it certainly sounds like to me that somebody was trying to drive him off the property.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Well, they're making a pretty darn good point. There's a lot of easier and more efficient ways of doing that than this oddity.
True.
Something's going on here. This is, like I said, it's just the more we look into this, our missing fellows and stuff, and the missing kid, and now these cows being mutilated in an odd way.
But these cows don't necessarily seem tied to our missing friend and family here, though, do they?
Not that we know of right now, but I mean, isn't it kind of odd that we're missing a professor, a dilettante, and some local worker kid? A little bit more than usual in a sleepy town like this.
Oh, I give you that. I just, my only concern is that we don't get distracted from, from potentially saving lives if these men are just in need of help in some place.
No, I do agree with you there. I mean, but this is something just to keep in mind, I would say. But I do agree. I think we need to stick to our guns, stick to what we're here for, and then I would like to look into this further when we're done with this job. This just has my attention.
So, Tom, this piece of property that was mentioned in the article, am I aware that it has any inherent value, since that's my whole point of being in New Mexico, is buying property?
It's apparently already been sold to somebody else.
Okay.
At way below the price.
Okay. So that seems, in my mind, in Julian's mind, I'd imagine he'd look at that as a tactic. Like, it's crazy and gross, but, a little too more extreme than I would take it to put the pressure on, the screws to their feet. But
it's most likely that most of the large areas around here are going to be cattle ranch. And if you were going to buy the property, you'd probably be putting in a cattle ranch. So, yeah, it seems a little unlikely that you would murder cattle to just get somebody to sell their property.
Well, in the 1920s, there was an oil thing happening in New Mexico that had a boom. So that's what I was wondering, if that was connected at all. I don't know. Can I make some contacts out east and see if they have any interest in the property for through their oil surveys or anything like that? Their geological surveys?
You can try.
Okay. And it would be fine, because you call now, I'd imagine, because it won't be too late out there.
It'll be 3 hours later. Yeah, so it's the middle of the night for them out there.
Oh, right. Okay. Gotcha. All right, so I'll wait till the morning.
Okay. See, gentlemen, the real mystery here is that this newspaper is from the 28th of September, and David, whose house we're sitting in right now, disappeared on the 18th of September, 10 days before this newspaper was printed. So I want to, Tom, I want to go and speak to Agapita and see if she knows where the newspapers come from.
She says that she puts them in there. That's where Mr. David liked them.
And have you been continuing to buy newspapers every day when he's been away?
Yes, but she's neglected it for a couple of days now, so she doesn't think that she doesn't know what to do, because her paycheck should be coming, but she's probably not going to get it at this point.
How much does he pay you at a pizza?
I don't know. She pays him the standard going rate for a maid.
I give her $100. Like, was this enough? What you make?
Dude. Yeah, she says that's
insane.
12 years salary that you just gave her.
I need a guy to do this because I am not in touch.
I would think with that kind of money, you'd have a very good handle on what you pay people.
I would think this guy is like, I tell the guy, and I pay someone to handle all that shit for me.
What's your accounting?
I don't think, actually, let's see. Actually, I'm very good at accounting. Thank you. No, I'm terrible at it. 5%, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you get somebody else to do your accounting.
Yeah.
You left him back at home. You left the house.
I don't have a driver. I don't have a chauffeur. I don't have a bodyguard. I am missing a whole crew of people that protect me from the outside world.
All right, so unless you guys want to do something else this evening, now you can go to bed and think about cattle mutilations.
Does she have any other newspapers from, say, over the last 2 weeks since he's been gone? She's been getting them.
She has a couple, but she tends to throw them out. There's nothing of any interest in any of them.
Okay. And does she read English?
Enough to go shopping.
Does she know of any interesting stories like this cattle mutilation or disappearances that we may not have mentioned?
No.
It also seems like it's been an ongoing thing here, and this isn't just an isolated incident. Something to ask the sheriff about tomorrow, definitely. This rancher here seems really spooked. I mean, moving out immediately, going all the way to Portugal. I mean, I can understand, moving to another part of the state or maybe to Colorado or something like that, but all to Portugal. This guy seems like he really came across something here to want to go to an extreme, don't you think?
On a pizza, do you got a guitar? I haven't played the guitar in so long.
Oh, no, senor.
Thank God.
I heard this Django Reinhardt. Amazing. Amazing.
Julius, have you ever played poker before?
I love poker. I knew that.
So we'll roll to see who wins, and then we'll roll to see how much money you take him for.
It's just really
good luck, Julius.
100-sided dice.
We could all become millionaires on this trip.
I know, that's what I'm thinking.
All right. Well, how much do you guys want to bet for? I'm in for $5,000. Fuck it. I miss my cousin. And I love him, and I gotta have my fun. I gotta live too.
All right. Well, some of you spend an interesting evening before you finally go to bed.
Sam shakes his head and goes out for his usual 2 cigarettes outdoors, but he doesn't inhale, as is his practice, and goes to bed.
All right.
Sam! Get in there, buddy!
All right. So you sleep. The morning comes. We'll say it's about 8 o'clock in the morning. You've all had breakfast. Agopita has given you breakfast. And what would you guys like to do?
Well, I would like to take some aspirin.
Have they invented aspirin yet?
Put some
Tom, make him roll first aid, Tom, please.
Yeah, or you can roll Constitution.
Oh, just the times 5 or just a straight 20?
Yeah, the times 5. The percentage.
Gotta paint these stupid dice. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why I switched to white dice with black letters on.
It's the worst. I got a bulb out, dude. It's so bad. It's like a 9 or a 3. I either made it or I didn't. It's a 9. I failed.
Okay. You got a hangover. A pretty bad one.
Woo! All right.
Every time Sam opens his mouth and talks, you got to go, ah.
So we're looking at the police chief's office, yeah?
Sheriff's office, yes.
That's where you're going to head?
Let's start.
I think
Let's.
so, yeah.
Well, I'd say let's try and cover some more ground there. Sam, why don't you and me go to the police chief? Why don't you guys check out the college, and then we can take it from there.
Why don't we stick together? So let's just stay together today. What's that sound?
Let's not stick together. Yeah, I'm up for going for the police.
No, I only think. Yeah, I only suggest splitting up because that way we'll cover more ground here before lunchtime and hopefully get a better handle on things, and gives ourselves the afternoon to go to figure out where we're going to go to next.
Oh, we're getting it's 6 in the morning. We got all day. Let's just stay together. Everybody will bring their shit to the table, whatever you guys do, and I'll just pay for whatever you guys need.
And it's 8 o'clock in the morning. You're still getting that. You're in a
fucking watch, man. 8 is watch. I wind it back up.
All right. So to clarify, are you going to split up?
Well, I mean,
I'm looking at everyone.
Guys.
Professors, what do you want to do?
I could split up if you guys want. If you think if it would save us time or whatever.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so who's going where?
Okay, so
police office.
Yeah, Harlow and myself to the police office, and the
I'm going to the police office too.
Okay, so the 3 of you are going to the police, and the other 2 are going to the library? Did you say?
The college, I think.
The college.
The college.
Teachers College.
Okay.
I'll ask
High
you
school.
before we leave too. Was there anything in particular you think we should ask, or we're just looking for general information to see if the professor is here or not? Right.
Let's start with generalities, and if we come up with anything specific, we can work it from there.
Okay.
Let's keep it simple for the time being.
All right. Let's deal with the library first, or the college first. So you head over to the college, and where do you go? What do you want to do? It's a small college. Probably all in one building.
Well, do they have a reception area there? Perhaps just a main administration office?
Yeah, they would. So you go into the administration office. Yes, how can I help you?
Hi there. My name is Professor Haston, and I'm in town from the University of New Mexico, Albuquerque.
Oh,
And,
okay.
Yeah, I was trying to find out if one of our associates from the university has been in town, perhaps doing some studies or lecturing here in the school. Can you help me with that, or perhaps direct us to the right place?
Sure, I think I can help you with that. What's your professor's name?
His name's Dr. Godfrey.
Dr. Godfrey. All right. It doesn't sound familiar to me. Let me go check the sign-in records and stuff like that. So it takes her a few minutes. She comes back. I don't show any Professor Godfrey. There's nobody teaching here by that name. No.
Okay, and you would have records if someone was just a guest on your at your institution.
Well, they're supposed to sign in. They don't always sign in, but I don't see any signature on here for Professor Godfrey.
Okay.
What was he a professor of?
Psychology.
Oh,
do you have someone here that specializes?
Yeah, we don't really have a psychology department here. You'd have to go to Albuquerque or something like that. We're too small for something that specialized.
Okay, I look at the others that are with me.
Yeah, I think it was an idea, but I don't think it's going to pan out. He wouldn't be a student, would he? I mean, maybe sitting on in another professor's lecture, or something like that.
Well, there's always that possibility. I don't know.
There's no records of that.
You mean like auditing a class? He would, once again, he'd probably still sign in. I don't know. Like I say, did he have any other interests besides psychology?
He was into the Native Americans with the Apaches.
So like the history department, we do have a small history department, a local history. That would be Professor Professor William Klein. I believe he is in his classrooms right now, probably teaching class.
I mean, it's up to you, Professor Gregor. I mean, we could go ask, but it doesn't sound like.
Since we're here, I don't think there'd be any harm in us stopping in. Perhaps we just wait a little bit till his class lets out, so we're not a major disturbance to him. I asked the lady here, do you know when the class lets out, or is there a timed break?
Let me check that for you.
Thank you for your help.
10 hours.
His class is over at 1:30 this afternoon.
Oh, wow. Okay. Do they take a lunch break in there before that?
His class, I think he usually puts in like a 15-minute bathroom break. But that's probably not for another hour or so.
Okay. Again, thank you for your help. And I tell the guys, hey, I'm fine waiting for him to take a break in like an hour, unless you feel that we should go in and just disrupt the class. But I think we might get more cooperation if we're being polite and
I would
like
agree with
his time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So you guys are waiting at the college. Let's go to the sheriff's office. Sheriff's office is a small, literally like a small, like Andy Griffith small. There's a couple of jail cells, and just basically a desk. There's a man who looks like he's probably in his early 50s, dressed in a uniform with a hat on, sitting behind a desk. Doesn't look like he's doing much. When you guys walk in, he looks up and he says, yeah, gentlemen, can I help you with something?
Yes. Hi, I'm Julian Clayton. Clayton. And I kind of back off.
Are you okay, mister?
Yeah.
Do forgive our compatriot here. He had a rough night coming over.
I'm fine.
What can I do for you, gentlemen?
Well, Julius here has hired myself to investigate a case, and the professor, our good professor here, Professor Harlow, is also looking into a missing persons case.
You're a detective,
Professor Godfrey. Sure, yeah.
Professor Godfrey. That sounds really familiar. Is that's the professor that went missing last month? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a consultant with the Albuquerque Police Department, and I was asked to help search for the missing Professor Godfrey.
Well, I only got a memo on that because I think your Albuquerque police were trying to see if there was some sort of correlation between that and a couple of other people that have gone missing.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason why I'm here.
Well, as far as I know, there's no correlation. Nothing ever came up.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are continuing to look into this?
Yes, we're actively investigating this at this time.
Because quite frankly, at this point, if he hasn't been found, then either he doesn't want to be found, or the other alternative.
Well, if in either case, we have been asked by multiple parties, at least on Professor Godfrey's part, to at least try and gain his whereabouts.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome to it, because I've got other stuff to do. But
since Professor Godfrey disappeared under similar circumstances to our friend here, we figure that there may be some kind of connection between the two, and that's what we're trying to look into.
Well, actually, there were 3 cases that we were looking that they asked us to look into. One was the Professor Godfrey. The other was a gentleman, Mr. David Lane, and the third was a young guy,
Yes,
Valela Pereira. What can I do to help you, gentlemen?
Would we be able to look at some records or evidence or anything you've got on the case that we could maybe do some research?
We don't have any. What sort of evidence? We don't have any. That we really couldn't find anything.
That were by my cousin's window.
Oh, you're related to Mr. Lane.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Julius Clayton Lane. Nice to meet you.
I see.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sheriff. Sheriff Antonio Vega. He says, yeah, I think we took some pictures. Let me see if I can find the file. And it's a fairly fresh file, so let's look through here. Apparently everybody in New Mexico has a Boston accent. He says, well, yeah, here's a picture. So you can see distinctly in the picture what look like 3 sets of footprints. One of them looks like a regular man's dress shoe. One of them is barefoot, and the other one is this boot with a distinctive cross shape in the heel.
Interesting.
Any idea about this pattern here? Is this a local cobbler doing this type of work?
Well, it's obviously like a pair of fancy cowboy boots or something like that, but I've never seen anything with a pattern in the heel like that. There were 3 suspects that were seen near Mr. Lane's house. They appeared to be rather darkly dressed, with dark hair and green eyes, according to one witness, and bad teeth, she said. He gives you the woman's testimony.
And were you able to confront these suspects or find these
we
suspects?
have no idea who they are. This is long gone. The young guy who disappeared, Joaquin Valela Pereira, we collected his things, and his things were collected about 2 days after the incident by his uncle, Philip Valela Pereira, tall man, looked like he was maybe in his late 30s, dark hair, green eyes.
Right. And do you have his contact information? Joaquin's uncle?
I have no idea. Apparently he's from Castronegro.
Castronegro.
Yeah,
Do you get a lot of people coming in from Castronegro?
Not really. There's a bus that goes to Castronegro. It's about 40 miles north of here, up in the hills, in the Gila forest.
Okay.
It's a little bit green up there than it is down here.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, he came and picked the stuff up. Quite honestly, he didn't seem that distressed. He seemed more angry than anything else.
So, do you get many people coming in from Castronegro here? Noteworthy families, people maybe noted for disturbances and stuff?
Well, no, not really. I mean, we do get people coming in. There's a bus, so people come in maybe to shop and stuff like that. Valera Pereira, Diaz, Jimenez. You get a lot of the same last names around here. A lot of these little towns were founded by people a long time ago, and half of them are all related to one another.
Mostly cattle ranchers?
Yeah, cattle ranches and other things.
Okay. What sort of other things? Just kind of curious, what would be the big supporting factor to a town like Castronegro, for example? Mining or
there's
or
silver mining.
stuff?
I don't know about this. There's no silver mining up in Castronegro. Honest God, I don't know. Probably mostly ranches up in that area.
Has this been kind of an isolated incident with these gentlemen and the kid disappearing? Has there been disappearances before under similar circumstances?
Of course, people have gone disappear. People disappear all the time from all over the place.
Well, yes.
Most of the time, it's just the person's run off. They just don't want to be found. They've decided they don't like their girlfriend or their wife or whatever, and they just skip town. And police can't do anything about that. It's not illegal.
What about Joaquin's uncle, Mr. Vega? Do you have any information on him at all? He must have ID'd him to get the stuff, right?
No, we're not as fancy as they are up in Albuquerque. He obviously was a relative. Lots of family resemblance.
Do you know if there's a family farm up in or a claim up in Castronegro?
There's farms all over this area. Yeah.
No, related to is there a Vega claim? I guess is what I'm asking.
No, my name is Vega.
Oh, what's Joaquin's name then?
Joaquin and his uncle Philip Villela Pereira.
Sorry, I got them mixed up. All these names.
You look like you had quite a tied one on last night.
He did. He did. Please do forgive him.
I do not imbibe in alcoholic beverages.
Well, nobody's going to stop you if you do.
Say, Sheriff, can I ask you something that might be completely unrelated?
Of course.
I happened to read a story about a whole bunch of cattle mutilations between, I think it was about the 8th to the 19th of September.
The cattle butchers.
Yeah, what is going on there? Do you know anything about that story?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of one of those local legends, who knows? Cattle have disappeared from this area. I imagine that they disappear just like they do anywhere else. Although that was quite an unusual thing, quite an escalation in what we're used to.
Did you see any of the cattle, the slaughtered cattle?
Oh, yes, I did.
And
I went out there. Well, my son killed the cattle. My guess is that something killed the cattle, and then, maybe coyotes or wolves or something like that came out there and just went for the soft body parts. That's usually what animals go for when they can. Maybe vultures. You're going to find those things all over the place. So I think it might have been a little bit more exaggerated than the newspaper made it sound like. But it was pretty violent and weird. I don't know if Mr. Montoya had pissed somebody off or not, but he didn't seem to think so.
Do you know what happened to that gentleman, Montoya?
I think that he moved somewhere like where did you say, Spain or
Portugal?
That's it, Portugal.
So all these cows had the same damage to them.
Well, I didn't look at all 92 of them, but yeah, more or less. You leave an animal dead out in the field for more than a day, and it's going to get picked by animals.
Well, that goes without saying. That's actually kind of one of my specialities. There is what happens to animals when they die and such. Which the thing
it was a shame.
It
was a shame that he that happened to him. Yeah. As far as I know, he was. People need jobs, and he probably supported quite a few ranch hands.
He sold his farm to?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who he sold his farm to?
Well, I have no idea.
Do you know who we could talk to about that?
Well, I have no idea.
Like land assayers or a bank?
Well, there's a farmer's bank. I have no idea if he used it or not. It's not really, it's not really my interest. There's a few other sheriffs in this county that have probably dealt with it more than I have since I'm here in Silver City.
All right.
But I gotta warn you. They're kind of locals. They don't. They are less congenial to strangers than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you should be able to just go to your town hall. Is it a county hall? Are you in the same county that this parcel of land is in?
Yes. Yeah.
So
this is all one big old county over here.
So are all of the land transactions done at your? Does this town have a courthouse?
There is a courthouse, a small one.
And so
we don't have a resident judge. The judge comes when we need him. Yeah, there's probably records.
All right.
Okay. Just kind of curious there, Sheriff, if you don't mind me asking, has anybody else come in to check out these cattle mutilations? From Albuquerque or otherwise?
Nobody's asked me about them. And I was just, like I said, marginally involved because Mr. Montoya called me. I was just happened to be like the closest one. He could have just as easily called somebody from Albuquerque. Most likely, this whole cattle mutilation thing that's been going on for years, and I think that the people in Albuquerque probably know more about it than I do.
Okay.
So people have been cutting dicks off of cows for years? This is just a thing that happens on it?
Like I say, I'm not saying that people are doing anything like that. I'm saying that cattle die on the field and some animal comes and goes after the soft body parts.
Oh, see, the article read is in like that was the how they were murdered was lack of genitalia.
I heard one time as a case where there were a whole bunch of cattle on a hill and a thunderstorm passed by and electrocuted nearly every cow in the field. So that could explain. We didn't have any thunderstorms, so.
Mm-hmm. Sheriff,
I'm curious, has there been any?
Go ahead, Ford.
It's kind of curious, Sheriff. Has there been any other ranchers who've had similar mutilations here to Mr. Montoya's situation, or has it been just mostly localized?
I'm sure there have been. Yeah, sure.
Would it be possible if we can get some information on some of them so that maybe we could contact them and get their story on that?
I'm not sure of anybody in particular.
The county clerk might be able to help us with that.
Well, I'm trying to think who might else have ranches out that direction. There's Marco Martinez. Marco Martinez. He owns a pretty big ranch out there towards Saltamontes. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm sure he's probably lost some cattle now and then. It's not really that unusual, gentlemen. I don't. The 92 head that Mr. Montoya lost, that was a freak, but mostly it's just one or two, that die.
Sheriff, I'm trying to get in touch with somebody. I pull out the envelope that I got back at David's house and show the address of the Chapo in Castronegro, and I ask him if he knows of the father or the Chapo itself or anything about it.
Oh, to be honest, I've never been out to Castronegro. It's just a small little town. It's up in the hills. I'm there's no doubt there's a church there. I think the town was probably originally settled by the Spanish back before the United States.
I appreciate your time. I kind of head out and have a smoke.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Gun shop in town? I apologize. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you have a gun shop in town?
Of course, we have a gun shop in town. It's like 17 of them.
I love this place. All right.
That we have. And we also have a cowboy hat store and
and maybe some boots.
Of course.
I'm thinking outfit. Thank you. I'm gonna fit in.
All
right,
Sheriff. Here's where we're going to be staying here, and scroll it down. Anything else comes up, let us know here, because we'd really like to see what we can to find our missing professor and the missing Mr. Lane as soon as possible. And if
keep me informed of anything you come up with, and
that we will do. That we will do for you there too.
If I hear anything, I will give you a call.
Thank you.
All right. Are you guys going to meet up somewhere?
The gun shop. Guys, want any new guns? I'd like some guns.
Got plenty.
I'm fine.
What about a hat? Maybe some boots. We're gonna be here. We might as well fit in, right?
Go knock yourself out.
But we're the two groups going to meet somewhere.
It's probably a nearby diner.
Okay. So you guys are meeting at the diner.
Mm-hmm.
What would you guys like to do?
Well, I say to you guys, the real definite lead that I can see in all of this is Castronegro. I've got an address on an envelope, which is the name of the missing man, which was in David's house. How David has a connection to that family, we don't know.
That uncle seemed very similar to possibly one of the culprits that abducted my cousin.
Definitely, almost exactly description.
Almost
Well,
exactly.
If your cousin was out,
Castronegro.
yeah. If your cousin was out here doing what you're doing, land buying and stuff, I could see him going around talking with people and stuff. Maybe he wanted to try and pick up the Montoya land there.
My understanding, he's trying to be his own man, and I don't think he's necessarily interested in what I'm interested in.
Huh?
I don't really think. I mean, it's possible, but he hasn't gotten a hold of me as far as the land buying is concerned. So I think he's doing his own thing out here, kind of trying to be, you know how sometimes before college a kid will have a gap year.
I do.
You've heard of that, right? Yeah, he's had about 10 of those. So, yeah, I'm not sure what he's doing.
So basically, he's just wandering around and trying to find himself, as it were.
I believe so.
I'm trying to remember, professors. Did we know if Professor Godfrey was visiting any archaeological sites or anything like that with his interest in the native history?
We didn't really find any hard clues that said what he was doing out here. We know he had interests, but
yeah.
Professors, go ahead and do an idea roll. I'm not even sure that you need to do.
I rolled a 5.
Okay, well, you know that if there was any kind of an archaeological site, he would have been extremely interested in looking at it because he loved American Indian history and stuff like that. If any of you know a lot about the area, you know that there are archaeological sites.
To be fair, we actually shouldn't be meeting up yet because the professors never talked to their contacts in college.
I was going to ask about that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. They were waiting, and then we swapped over the tops. Yeah.
All right, so you guys are going to meet Mr. William Klein. It's the 15-minute break. You see all of a sudden kids coming out of the classroom. And as the kids come out...
Pretty obvious who he is then?
Well, yeah, as you see a bunch of students come out, and just a second after that, you see an older gentleman with a beard come out. He's got like a file folder thing under his arm, and you get the because you guys are academics as well. He's probably heading to get a cup of coffee or something.
Oh, excuse me, Professor Klein.
Yes.
My name's well, I'm a professor also from up at the University of New Mexico, Albuquerque.
Yes.
I really appreciate if you could give me just a couple of moments of your time. I understand you've got a quick break here, but we've had a colleague that's been in town recently. We just wanted to find out really quick from you if by any chance he had stopped in because he had a real intense interest in history and in archaeology and wasn't sure if perhaps a Dr. Godfrey had paid you a visit or came by any of your classes.
Dr. Godfrey, that sounds really familiar. Yes. Yeah, from walk with me, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Drink. Yeah, he. It seems to me he showed up here, about a month and a half ago or so. Asked me some questions about the Apache, about the various archaeological digs in the area, and I told him there were some very interesting ones.
Was there anything that really stood out that seemed to grab his interest?
Well, let's see. Probably the one that he was fairly interested in was just a second.
And I really appreciate your help. He's not checked in with us recently. We are somewhat concerned, so we're hoping to perhaps go check some of the sites he might have ventured out to.
The one that he seemed most interested in was the cliff dwellings out in the Gila National Forest. an interesting place. Cave paintings. Seemed like a rather energetic young man. Not that young, but very enthusiastic, very much interested in the local legends and so forth of the Apache.
Excellent. Did he attend some of your classes?
No.
Okay.
I think quite honestly, he knew a lot more than I did.
He was very interested, or is very interested in the history of the area and of the cultures. Did he ask you many questions about the culture involved with the area of the cliff dwellings and the paintings? He had some interest in superstitions, in lore.
Yeah, just general questions about the Apache Indians and some interesting questions about the Spanish that moved here and how their relationship between the two. Of course, this was quite a wild area for a long time.
Okay.
You know, up until maybe 50 years ago, there were still tribes of dangerous American Indians that in this area.
I kind of straightened my tie and hope I don't come across as one of those dangerous Indians. Where the Gila National Forest is that anywhere up near Castronegro?
I believe that the cave dwellings are on the way.
On the way? Okay. Yeah. Do you know if there's anywhere nearby that I could get information about those, that I might be able to get some information about the sites and how to reach them?
Well, it's not really a tourist place. There's nothing touristy around here.
Yeah. Well, do you have current digs happening there?
Oh, no.
Okay.
As I recall, there you'd want to take the main road, and there's a small turnoff, but it's a rough road. You'd have to probably walk most of the way up to the caves, and if you continued on the original road, you'd end up in Castronegro.
Okay. I really appreciate your help.
Of course. Care for some coffee or?
Yeah, actually, I would love some before we go. Professor Hisney, did you have any questions?
No, I think that you covered it well. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it certainly. I make small talk with him and take whatever time I can get with him. And
okay.
Sure, when he goes back to class, we'll take off.
You get the impression that he is not a professor on par with Professor Godfrey. He's a professor, but he's a very tiny college.
Okay.
He's probably not academically advanced enough to get at Albuquerque or someplace more prestigious, but he seems like a nice guy. All right. Anything else? Now you're probably going to meet back up for your gun, boot, and cowboy hat extravaganza.
Yeah. We're going local, sons.
But the real question is why Julius gets a cowboy suit with a fringe that hangs down all over it.
Because it's amazing. That's why.
It is amazing. All right. So what's your next move going to be?
Well, if we go back to that conversation we were kind of started there at the table, I would mention that Dr. Godfrey could have been out at these cliff dwellings that were on the way to Castronegro and kind of let him know the information that I gathered there and how that was relevant to his personal interests and tied to the local history, including the natives and the Spanish.
Well, I think you said, Professor, that the cliff dwellings are on the way to Castronegro, so we could do a trip to that and then also check out the Castronegro after that.
What about David? Did he ever go to the college? My cousin?
You guys ask about him?
We didn't. I thought we were only asking about the professor. I thought David was just a dilettante.
Yeah, but like I said, there's a lot of young ladies there, I'm sure. And the high school's there, too.
And we didn't ask around with the enrolled student population. We just spoke to administration and one of the professors on staff.
That might be the next thing to go for, is to talk with students and stuff and see if, even if he didn't involve himself with the student population, people do talk, and there's always connections.
So if I'm to understand this correctly, we should have just stayed to fucking together? Am I incorrect in this, or?
We save time.
Actually, believe it or not, we have saved time.
Julius, do us an idea roll.
No, 85.
Okay. Never mind. All right, well, gentlemen, come up with tell me what you're going to do next, what your next plans are, and then we'll probably end it there.
You want to just call up the school, or?
Mr. Steele, how do you feel about the sheriff there? Just wanted to get your take on him before we make a plan.
Well, I think he was a small town sheriff, and he was pretty helpful. I don't think he was holding anything back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think they're kind of equipped to sort things out. The whole cattle story was, just, it's strange. These things happen, So.
Still, I'd be very curious to personally check that out. And like I said, when we're got the situation with our missing people taken care of, that's something I'd like to investigate.
Yeah, why don't I make that phone call and see if I can't find out if anybody was pushing any pressure on any of those land developers out there.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I asked the waitress, ma'am, you got a phone I can use?
Sure.
Thanks.
Let's just for the sake of time, we'll say that you get a hold of your contacts back east, and they'll look into it for you. It'll take them some time to find out.
Okay, like a couple days, or a couple.
They don't know for sure. That's kind of cross country. Finding information out is a little slower than than what you'd think.
Okay.
So, anything else you guys want to do, or what's your plan for when we come back? It's only. Let's say it's just about noon. We'll say it's noon on October, what is this, 3rd now? Or the 2nd?
Well, why don't we head back to the school since it's noon? There's probably a lot of people not at class, and we can kind of talk to the other side of the population.
I think that's a wise idea. And then when we're done with that, let's look into maybe taking a bit of a recce out to the cliff dwellings and see what's going on there. Maybe go further to Castronegro, because that seems to be our next logical step for getting information. And if nothing else, we can always come back here and ask people along the way. I would like to eventually go to the assayer's office, find the assayer's office, the county records, that sort of thing. But I think right now, maybe since we got a potential solid lead with the cliff dwellings and with Castronegro, I think let's go out that way, unless anybody else has a better idea.
No, that's a good
plan. Why don't the librarians go to the Hall of Records and follow up there while we go back to the school, so we're not associated with each other? The professors.
to the Hall of Records?
Yeah, the courthouse should have land records because it's a county courthouse. So maybe you guys could go there and investigate. Maybe you could find out even faster who purchased this land, or see if there's some types of trends or something happening. I'm not very great at digging through books, but I bet you're amazing at it.
Okay, so that's our plan.
Do that. Yeah, and today I believe is October 3rd.
October 3rd. Okay. All right. Well, let's assume that's what you're going to do, and we will pick this up again next week. Right. Our players included Ken Trench, Jeff Wilkins, Ford Fitch, Joshua Morrow, and Fred Carter, with yours truly as Keeper of the Secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. Patrons of our show can now enjoy recordings of our pre- and post-game conversations when we first publish them. Some of the funniest and most interesting stuff occurs before and after the show. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month will help us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We love hearing from you. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.